Hey everybody, this is Robert Gowell coming to you with the Agent Mastermind, and I want to first of all thank you for taking your time to spend with us. We have a lot of agents on the line, and like Vicki said, we want to respect everyone's time. So I'm going to jump right into the good stuff. I've been in the business 16 years, in the real estate business, and I've been told that you have to list to last, or listings are the name of the game. And I have to agree. And I guess an analogy that I like to give is when you're working a buyer sometimes can be a moving target. They'll say, you know, Robert, we're looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a pool, and we want it in a certain area. And then you email the buyer all these homes, and next thing you know, they buy in a different area in a different price range, and maybe even it's a condo. So buyers are a moving target, a little tougher to shoot. Where listings, you know what you have. If you price it right, the business will work for you instead of you working for it. So write that down. I think that's the first good lesson of why we want to build an inventory, is when you get your real estate license, you can either work for it or let the business work for you. And so my goal for all of you on this call is let the business work for you. Go out there and build your listing inventory. So what I'm going to share with you today are 5 listing appointment fundamentals. These are 5 things you need to do on every single listing appointment. Okay? So let's go over what we're going to talk about for today's workshop. First of all,
Robert. Yes. Real quick, can you minimize your control panel by pushing that orange arrow so it collapses it to the side of the screen? It's causing a little bit of flashing. Perfect. Thank you very much.
How's that? You got it. Okay, so what we'd like to do is, for those of you who don't know me, I am going to start off with an intro, just tell you a little bit about myself. From there, okay, let me do this, I think. Why did I just do that? Okay, from there, I'm going to take you through the 5 listing appointment fundamentals. Then this is really cool. I'm going to talk to you about CMA'S and how to get that 6 to 7% commission. So you're going to want to stick around all the way to the end. And then the last thing I'm going to talk to you about is how you can take your career and get it to the next level. So with that said, let's move along here. I'd like to start off with my real estate experience. I was licensed to sell real estate on October 19th, 1998. I started at Coldwell Banker. I was up for Rookie of the Year for the whole state of Florida, but I did not finish my first year. I moved on to RE/MAX. I was the broker manager of a company called Signature Realty, and my 4th home was Alexa Realty, where I've been since 2004. But I became a broker back in 2002. So for the last 12 years, I've been coaching, training, and mentoring agents. And by the end of 2012, my team had sold and closed over 1,200 homes, totaling over $250 million in production. And I think this is pretty cool. I got a call from Business Leader magazine. They named me one of their top 50 entrepreneurs for 2012. And at the end, I'm going to show you why that happened and some of the different things that I'm involved in and how I invested and where the opportunity lies for you on this call. So one of the things that I do, and I'd say I like to do well, is video. Video has changed my life. Video is part of the reason I am on this call instructing today. I would say 4 years ago, there wasn't a lot of people who knew who I was, although I was selling a lot of real estate. When I started switching to video, I got more national recognition. I started a show called Alexa Realty 411. So write that down, AlexaRealty411.com. Check out our videos, and if anybody wants any help or any pointers or any advice, we did a lot of things wrong in the beginning. It seemed like the first 6 to 8 months we went in the wrong direction. But we've been doing videos now for over 3 years. I do anywhere from 2 to 4 a month. And our show has been seen, it's actually in over 131 countries. It's a real estate talk show. I'm the vice president of a company called Florida BT Claims. We've helped realtors get over $4 million due to the Gulf oil spill. And I'm the founder and president of the Real Estate Academy, which coaches and trains realtors to live a better life and make more income. And last but not least, this is my family. I am married for 11 years. I have 2 boys that are 7 and soon to be 9, or excuse me, 9 and soon to be 7. My older son, Jacob, he's the one that's kind of got his hands around my neck. He looks like me but acts like my wife. And the little guy in the middle, you can see with that mischievous smile, he looks like my wife but acts like me. He's the one that your mom and dad said, I hope you have a kid just like you. Vicki, that's what I got right there with him.
That's cute. That's cute.
So
you have a beautiful family.
Don't be fooled by that little one for a minute.
Okay.
So here's where it changed for me. I had an aha moment in 2010, and it was when I saw an interview with Steve Jobs. And Steve said something that was really profound. He knew he was dying of cancer, and the gentleman giving the interview said, Steve, if you could pass along just one bit of information to somebody watching this program or this interview, what would it be? And Steve said, well, you know, you got to do what you love to do, because the only way to do truly great work is to love what you do. So for me, I started wondering, what's my passion? What's my purpose? And really, that is your purpose if you're on this call. Your purpose in life is to follow your passions, because here's how it works. If you find your passion, you will end up doing what you love. And if you do what you love, you will do great work. And if you do great work, you get paid well. And I think that's a little bit of a problem with the profession we have. There's a lot of people, they get into real estate and they just want to be paid well. And they don't really focus on doing great work. And so really this formula works best, and in my opinion, it's the only way it works from the top down. Do what you love, therefore you will always do great work. And if you do great work, the money just seems to follow.
That is so true. Yeah, that really cuts home right there. So.
Well, you know, and I remember
we follow
Scott
that
and I,
too. Scott, we follow that here in Scott's office. So we make sure that everything that we put out there, we love to do it, and it shows, and we do great work. So that gives us our passion. That's the reason why we wake up every day.
And that's really true. I mean, you should ask yourself, why do we put our feet on the floor every day when we get up out of bed? Mm-hmm. What excites us? I mean, if we're not excited, if we're dragging, our heels to get in the shower and we just don't feel like going to work, there's something wrong. And one of my passions, and this is going to translate into today's class, it's coaching baseball. I coached 2 baseball teams this spring. And one thing I always try to do, whether I'm coaching or teaching, is I like to seek out people that have more knowledge than I do. So as a Little League coach, my team came in 4th in the district. Out of over 32 teams, we made the Final 4. Very exciting. And but what I try to do is I always try to learn. So here the Tampa Bay Rays had what they called the Rays Initiative, where you got to go work with the Rays coaches for the day, and you maybe can see me with the red baseball hat on. But any chance I get to learn from somebody who's better than I am, I want to be there and I want to learn, and then we just go back and apply it. So as a baseball coach, there are basic skills, and here's where I'm going to relate this in a minute to real estate. If you brought me your son or your daughter and you said, make them into a great little leaguer, what we're going to do is we're going to break baseball down into just 5 categories: hitting, fielding, throwing, base running, and catching. And we're going to do this over and over and over and even over again. So when you think about real estate has 5 core fundamentals when you go on a listing appointment. So if you have a pen and a piece of paper, we're going to break down now, the 5 core fundamentals that you should use every single time when you go on a listing appointment. Okay, number 1, it's called rapport. And I want you to look at all the words on this screen. Rapport to me is finding a connection. If there is no connection with you and that seller, if you just have not connected, odds are you're not going to get that listing. getting that listing sometimes, it reminds me of dating. You know, if you're single and you're out and you meet somebody, the first thing you have to have before it goes any further is there has to be some type of a connection. And if there is no connection, it doesn't go any further. So it doesn't really matter, you know, how much real estate knowledge you have in the beginning or if you're the neighborhood expert. It's about walking in and connecting. It's about listening to the client. A lot of times the seller, they're going to give you the answers to the test. The problem is we're not listening. And I'm going to give you an example of that. Mirror the client. Like, I am a super high energy guy, but if I knock on the door and the lady who answers the door is 87 years old and she's very soft-spoken, you know, Robert Gowan is high energy, I might scare the living daylights out of this lady. So, you know, if they're a high energy person, you got to bring your high energy game, right? If they're a little soft-spoken, you might have to tone it down. But you kind of have to match the energy of the people you're talking to. Also, identify the type of personality that you're talking to. I love this one, respect. There's a lot of realtors that go into these homes and maybe they are the neighborhood experts or they've sold thousands of homes and they just, and maybe this is a $200,000 home and they're used to selling $500,000 homes and they just don't treat the sellers with the respect that they deserve. You should respect everybody and not go into your presentation until you've built rapport and you've related and connected with them. But all the words on this screen are very, very important. So step number one is build rapport. Now, Scott talks about this all the time. There are 4 rapport builders, and they're the most common things that most people like to talk about. And why I like to bring this up is because if you're in a situation, let's say you're working with a buyer, and they get in your car, and you just realize, I have nothing in common with this buyer. Or if you're over at the seller's home, like I said, I am 46, super high energy, 2 young kids, and the lady who answers the door is 87 years old. Odds are we don't have a lot in common. So what I need to do is I need to establish that rapport or that connection. So what we like to do is we like to talk frog. Okay, and here's what frog means. You start and ask them about their family. And a perfect way to do this is when that 87-year-old seller is walking you around the home, when you see the pictures up of the grandkids hanging up maybe in the hallway, this is a perfect time to say, oh my gosh, is this your family? Are these your grandkids? How many grandkids do you have? 25 grandkids. Wow, congratulations. Now, is this why you're moving? Oh, okay, you want to get up north and be closer to the grandkids. Okay. So what would be the perfect time you'd like to move? Okay. So whereabouts up north do they live? Oh, they live in upstate New York. Okay. So again, once you start talking to people about their family, you tend to build more of a rapport and have a connection. R is recreation. You walk out of the garage and you see the golf cart and a set of golf clubs. A perfect time to say, it looks like you like to golf. How often do you play? Again, build the dialogue around their recreation or what they like to do for fun. O, occupation. So what did you do for a living? How long did you do that? Did you enjoy it? Okay, so what we try to do is take each question, write this down, and go what I call 3 deep. Try to ask 3 questions about the family, 3 about their recreation, what they used to do for a living, and goals. Tell me about your goals. Obviously, you have this. It's for sale by owner. In the perfect world, what would you like to see happen? When would you like to see it happen by? And what happens if it doesn't sell? How does that affect your plans? So when you start talking about their family, what they like to do for fun, recreation, what they've done for a living, or what their goals or future dreams are, what happens is you start to really establish rapport. And I had a coach years ago that said people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And I proved this. When I was a brand new realtor, I had a chance to go list a $350,000 house in a neighborhood where 2 agents just owned the neighborhood. I mean, you just could not get in there. But it was a for sale by owner. I called, and I got my foot in the door. So when I went over there, they were, the gentleman who answered the door said, come on in. You know, we'd like to get this home sold. I'll show you the house, but we've got relatives and family over. We're having a birthday party for my son. So I said, no problem. So I'm walking around the house, and they're putting the birthday cake on the table, and they're getting ready to sing happy birthday, and there's another knock on the door. Who is it? But it's the neighborhood expert. And the husband comes to me and says, I am so sorry. I booked you. My wife booked him. Geez. He's like, I'm embarrassed. And I said, you know what? No problem. Why don't you just talk with him, and I'll just act like one of the family members. He's like, here, have a piece of birthday cake. So I'm eating birthday cake in the kitchen, singing happy birthday with the family, and the so-called neighborhood expert comes in. Now maybe, give him the benefit of the doubt, maybe he saw a lot of the family there, but he built no rapport. He walked in and he told them who he was, how many homes he sold, that his company was #1, and within 5 minutes he was laying the comps down on the kitchen table. I ended up getting that listing and selling that, but the point is that no matter how good you are, don't try to go around building rapport. It's the most important thing. Vicki, any comments on that?
No, totally, 100% agree. He walked in, it's all about him, what he does, and you are the total opposite. So that's awesome, and it's great advice to follow. Perfect.
Yeah, and you know, there's some other coaches that I work with, and some of these guys are not just tops in the country, but tops in the world. And that's a story that they even tell when we go on our Google Hangouts and do our mastermind training, is that even after selling, you know, and making $8 million in commission, they still lose out from time to time because sometimes they still struggle. I'm so busy, I've got so much going on, and they'll even tell you the first thing is, no matter how good you are, it all starts with rapport. Period.
Period. Yep.
Period. End of story. So number 2 is after the rapport is there, and you feel like there is a connection, now it's time to go to step number 2, which is qualify the client. And we do this by asking a series of questions. And your questions are really to lead you in just a couple directions. The first one is, what is their motivation? And, you know, Vicki, I know you've been in the business a long time, but how does it work when they're not motivated?
Well, it's creating, you create the excitement that you know, they will then mirror from you. So that has been kind of helpful to me. So
well, what if they have no motivation to sell their home, and they just say, hey, Vicki, you know what, if I get my, you know, I know I've priced it, you know, my neighbor sold at 300, I've got the exact same house, I'm going at 4, and if I don't get my price, I don't get my price, I really don't care, I'm just seeing what's out there. Do they sound like they're very motivated? No,
they don't. But then sometimes, you know, you have to find, by building that rapport, you find deeper meaning onto the reason why that they really need to. In fact, a prime example of that is a neighbor whose wife, they really needed to go into more of an assisted living, but he was, you know, he was not going to budge his price, and they would stay there forever. You know, so you try to talk about, you know, the life that it could be better for them, you know. So you give them options and ideas, and, of course, it's their decision, you know, but you create excitement about, you know, what could be. Kind of a storyteller, too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so motivation is one thing I'm looking for, and the other is timing. Mm-hmm. You know, when I'm walking in and I'm asking my questions, I'm just trying to determine what the seller's motivation and timing is. Why are they selling? How soon do they need to sell by? And I'm looking to see if there's a problem, kind of like a doctor or a detective, if there's a way. And I'm going to give you a great example of this in just a few minutes. And I just put this in there. If it's a problem, this is your chance to offer a solution or get out of the way of somebody who can. And then the perfect scenario is coming up here in a minute. There's 3 pain points for home sellers, and it's your job to try to uncover what these are. Most of them have a fear of the property not selling at all, the fear of it not selling fast enough, or the fear of it not selling for enough money. So these are the questions you got to try to uncover. What happens if it doesn't sell? How is this going to mess up their plans? I mean, how bad do they need to get it sold? And again, what is the timing? What happens if it doesn't sell in 2 months, 3 months? What if it takes a year? How is that going to affect their plans? And then if it takes a year, how is that going to affect their bottom line? Are we going to end up reducing the prices? So how much money do we need out of this to make our future dreams happen? But there are the 3 pain points for the seller.
Valid points, too. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, so the first one, again, just a little recap, is build rapport. After we build rapport, the next thing we do is we qualify the seller by asking questions to determine what their timing and motivation is. Now that we understand what their situation is, we get it, we know why they're moving, when they're moving, what they're doing it for, when they need it done by, now it's time to give our presentation. This is why we showed up. Now here's just some tips I'm going to give you on how to give a great presentation. First of all, your presentation's got to have structure. It should have a logical order with an introduction, a middle, and some main closing points, and possibly a call to action, but definitely a call to action. Next, you should not go in and wing this. You should always practice, whether it's in front of a mirror, record yourself in front of a friend. Your body language is going to be extremely important. Your body language is going to say more than maybe you're going to say verbally. You need to smile and have confidence and make eye contact, especially when you're discussing commissions or fees. And, you know, I am animated. I always like to move around a little bit. If you're doing some type of lecture in front of a room, don't hide behind the podium. If you're doing maybe a home buyer seminar, move around a little bit. I always leave notes and handouts. I don't ever leave a presentation or leave somebody's house with them not having my information. I leave them a home selling brochure, my business card, and I always get their information, their name, phone number, and email address, at least those 3, name, phone number, and email address. Your speech, speak clearly, confidently, concisely, never too fast, and do not use real estate jargon. They just don't understand it. Maybe it's the talk we use at the office, but the way we talk to our fellow realtors around the office is not the way we should talk to a seller when we're out on an appointment. Put your presentation on a PowerPoint, an iPad. Mine's on a PowerPoint. Similar to this, my slides are clean and simple. We have diagrams, charts. Interaction is huge. Always ask the seller questions. You don't just want to go into their kitchen and just speak at them. You want to ask them, you know, what they understand about the market, you know, again, what they know about it, how quickly do they think homes are selling in their neighborhood, where do they come up with the price. Get them involved, right? Get them more involved. Otherwise, I mean, when I was new and I was trained on how to give a great listing appointment, I was told you just go there and talk to them. But these people would roll their eyes and they were falling asleep. And when I started engaging them and making them a part of my listing presentation, things changed. And nervousness. And I'm going to tell you this. If you're walking into a listing presentation and you're nervous, do you know what the problem is? You're not prepared. You know, and so many agents, they're fine if they're walking into a $200,000 or $300,000 appointment, but if they call that FSBO and they end up getting $1 million or $1.5 million appointment, they're really nervous talking to a $1 million client. And, you know, maybe when you get that $1 million or $1.5 million client, you do a little bit more preparation. And if you are properly prepared, you will never be nervous. You will always have confidence. And that's where I think nerves come from, is, you know, when I do these webinars, we have close to 1,000 people. I'm not nervous at all. But I've done this now, you know, for the past 4 years. I rehearse this stuff, and I prepare for it. And so, therefore, whether I'm speaking in front of 1,000 people on this line today, there are absolutely no nerves. I believe in everything that I'm telling you, okay? So you have to believe it. So write these, you know, these points down: structure, practice, body language, leave a handout, your speech, your PowerPoints, your interaction with the client, and don't be nervous. Let's go on to number 4. Now, how many times have we seen a realtor get just the best presentation in the world, and at the end of that presentation, they're just hoping the seller jumps up and says, okay, I'll list. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? You have to ask for the sale. And I love this. It's the ABCs of selling. Always be closing, because you know what? You can't get if you don't ask. So after I give a presentation and I'm finished, I will ask Mr. and Mrs. Seller, okay, so you've seen my presentation, so I'd like to start with, are there any questions? Ms. Seller, do you have any questions? Mr. Seller, any questions? Okay. Well, if you don't have any questions, would you like to get started today? Ask. They're not going to tell you, but here's why we don't ask, and this is number 5, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this. It's people don't ask because they don't want to hear what the answer is going to be. And I'm going to tell you, most of the time you ask a seller to list with you, I mean, almost 8 out of 10, they're going to say no. Especially if you're doing a for sale by owners or expireds. It's not because you've done a bad job presenting. It's just because they need to think about it. They might have other realtors they're interviewing. They might have to talk it over with another family member. So, you know, you have to go through a series of no's before you get a yes. And I'm going to give you a few tips on how to handle objections, and then I'm going to give you a scenario that one of my coaching students have. And Vicki, I want you to be a part of this, and I'm going to show you how the correct way to handle this was. But when you ask a seller, are you ready to get started today, almost expect that you're going to hear no. This way, when you get a no, it's not that big of a deal because you were expecting it. I think where we go wrong as realtors is we want to, yes, we want to convert so bad, so we'll give a great presentation, and they don't really say at the end of our presentation they want to list, and then we don't really ask for the business, and we end up walking out the door. Ask for it.
Yeah, and feeling disappointed. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep, ask for it, and just say, as soon as I ask for it, I know what the answer is going to be. I'm just prepared. The answer is going to, now if it's yes, we're good. You know, there's nothing else to talk about. Just shut up and sign the paperwork. But expect that the no is coming. And if you go in with that attitude and they say, well, you know, the presentation, I got to tell you, the presentation was outstanding. You are very, very good. But, you know, my dad's a realtor up in New York, and, you know, I've got to tell him about you, how impressed I was with you. We're interviewing 2 agents at the end of the week, and we said we're going to give it to the end of this month. And, you know, after that, we'll let you know. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to understand the situation. And you were talking about that, Vicki. It's always digging deep. Digging deep, right? And asking the right questions, and there it is. Dig deep. You've got to get down to the root. And this example, right after this slide, I'm going to give you this example. Search it, see if you can find a problem, and if so, expose that there may be a problem. And then you, as the expert, it's your job to offer a better solution. Okay? And if you're out there and you're on this webinar and you come across any objections you cannot handle, I want you to do me a favor, write them down. I'm going to give you my personal email address, my private. I do not give this out, but for anyone who works with Carl and Scotty and Vicki, I'm going to do that today. I'm going to give you my personal email address. I want to hear the objections you're getting that you can't handle, and together we will come up with answers. But I want to give you one prime example, Vicki, okay? So one of my students came across this, and he said to me, you're the coach, how would you handle it? He called on a for sale by owner that was $250,000. And the for sale by owner was pretty clear. They said, bring me a buyer, and we'll pay you a 3% commission. But we are 100% sure we're not listing. We sell all of our own homes, and we have money. We're, you know, we've got some money, and we don't need a realtor. And so if you're coming over here for a listing, you're wasting your time. And the student of mine says, well, I'm going to go. I said, you should go. Yep. So he goes over there, and here's the situation. They have 2 homes in the same neighborhood. They live in this one home that's $250,000, and they just bought a home that was like $350 or $400, just like 2 streets over. Number one, they liked the neighborhood. That's why they stayed in the neighborhood. But they needed a bigger house because the mother-in-law became disabled and she was moving in with them and they were going to take care of her. So they told this client of mine that I coach that, again, we told you on the phone, if you're here looking for a listing, you're wasting your time. The most we're going to pay on this $250,000 house is a 3% commission. And between my money, my husband's money, and my disabled mother-in-law's money, I don't care if it takes me a year or two to sell this by owner. I just refuse to pay a realtor. So this coaching client of mine comes back and he goes, man, how would you handle that? I mean, Vicki, where do you go with that?
For me, you know, when I was in real estate, I always was, you know, the buyer's agent. You know, I worked with large teams, and so, you know, I had great respect for the listing side. My specialty was on the buyer side, but, you know, I would want to develop the relationship. You know, I would want to be the resource that they come to week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. You know, I would want to be the consultant in their business and find the solution for them. So what could I do to have them get to know me, then they get to like me, and they start to trust and see that I'm, you know, I'm trying to help them.
So I loved when you said the consultant and the solution, because that's what people are looking for. They don't want listing agents, but what they're looking for are consultants who have solutions. So look what I have up on the board. Understand the situation, ask the right questions, dig deep, see if you can find any pain, and if you can find pain, you need to offer a better solution. So here's what I said. I said, okay, so she said she's going to pay a 3% commission. She's just not willing to pay 6%. So on a $250,000 house, what's the discrepancy? $7,500, right?
Right.
Because she's sold on 3. She's just not sold on 6. So what's going to stop her from doing business with me is $7,500. Let's call it what it is. Now here's the issue I see. Now I understand that you do not need the money, and I understand you have money, your husband has money, and your mother-in-law has money, and if it takes you 2 years, you're not going to list with an agent. But here's one thing I want to make you aware of. You're about to move into this $350,000, $400,000 house. What happens to this one for $250,000? It sits vacant. If it's not paid off, how much is the mortgage payment? The taxes, the insurance, the electric bill, the landscaper. We started adding up the bills. It was over $3,200 a month for a vacant house. Now, what if this $3,200 a month house sits just for a year? Okay, $3,200 times 12, that's $38,400, and you know you're going to put a few $100 or $1,000 into the, you know, maybe some landscaping or an issue here or there. So bottom line is she's saying, hey, I am not going to pay a listing agent, but I'm willing to pay $40,000 a year to hold this house because I'm going to save myself $7,500 in commission. Does this make sense? So what we need to do is we need to dig deep, because really she didn't understand what she was even saying. Yes, I don't want to list with a realtor. Listen, this has nothing to do with me, Mrs. Seller, nothing. I'm here as a consultant to help you. Now, yes, you're willing to pay 3%, great, and you're saving 3%, great. All you're saving at 3% of $250,000 is $7,500. So let's draw that on a piece of paper. $7,500 you save by not having a realtor. Now let's look at everything you lose by not having one over the next year. House payment, taxes, insurance, all this stuff listed out, multiply it by 12. You mean to tell me you're going to spend $40,000 to save $7,500? I'm here to tell you that's not a good move. And this is what I bring to the table as your consultant. I don't want you to make moves like that. I don't care if you have money. My job is for you to keep your money. You follow? I want you to keep your money. So it's better to pay $7,500 than to lose $40,000 a year, wouldn't you say?
So it's better to step over thousands to pick up a dollar.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're stepping over thousands of dollars to pick up $1. So again, look at that. I understood the situation better than my client. I asked better questions. I dug a little deeper. I found a pain point, and use this, a little objection handler, anytime you come across a FSBO, expired, or anybody selling that has multiple properties that doesn't want to pay a commission. Get into the holding cost. What you'll really come to find out, this has nothing to do with realtors or commissions. This is all math, folks. Everything is math. Start doing better math and truly understand numbers and different matrix and different spreadsheets, and you're going to say, oh my gosh, this really just came down to numbers. So just wanted to throw that out. So here's 5 words. You can't
change the facts, right? Facts are what they are. So
well, they can appreciate when you point this stuff out, the other agents aren't pointing this stuff out. I'm going to tell you that right now. They're just over there trying to convert.
Mm-hmm.
So here's 5 words to remember when you go on a listing appointment. Focus on conversations, not conversions. 5 simple words. Focus on conversations, not conversions. We all know we want to convert. Of course we do. We want the listing. We want it. Well, there'd be something wrong with us if we didn't. But don't go in there even thinking about it. All you're doing is going in there trying to make a new best friend, because here's why. It's the conversations that will turn into conversions. So your job as a real estate agent is to get in these doors and have meaningful conversations and try to turn your conversations into conversions. So let's do this. Let's go over the 5 basics of a listing presentation. Number 1 is rapport. And you got to do these in order. You walk in the house, you walk in the door, the first thing you're doing is establishing a connection. Once that connection is in place, the next thing you're doing is you're asking questions to qualify the client, to see if they have timing, motivation, what their reasons are for doing what they're doing. After you truly understand their situation, it's time for you to give your presentation. And I went over all the different ways and the different things that you should have in your presentation and how you should break them down. When you're done, ask for the sale. Ask for it. And expect the no is coming. And if you're expecting the no, you're going to be fine. It's when you're expecting the yes that the no throws you off. Just go, hey, when I ask, guess what I want to hear? No. So when they say no, you say, hey, cool, that was what I was expecting. So then it's your job to handle these objections and then to continue to follow up. Here's a study on follow-up. Write these stats down. Did you know that 44% of salespeople quit after the first time they hear no? So, listen, we got to think about it. You're really a real nice guy, but I don't think so. 44% of the people are out. An additional 22% after the second time they hear no. So all you have to do is tell a real estate guy no twice, and you're getting rid of 2/3 of them. That's it. No, I don't think so. Hey, it's still not a good time. You have to call me back. 2/3 of them you'll never hear of again. An additional 14%, the third time they hear no, will quit. And an additional 12% of salespeople will quit after the 4th time they hear no. So here's what it adds up to. 92% of all salespeople quit between the 1st and the 4th time they hear no. But this is based out of 100. And I'm telling you, 100 people aren't going after one listing. So usually by the time the seller's ready to say yes, okay, one more number here, 60% of the sales will close after the prospect has said no 4 times. So if you're giving up before the 4th time, you are not playing the odds. And that's what this is really about, understanding. This is that math thing again I was talking about, understanding math, understanding numbers, not taking it personally. 60% of the people are going to say yes after they've said no 4 times. Why? Because they have other people to talk to. It might not be the right time. They might just be busy at their job. I had football camp. My wife's out of town. I had to get home yesterday, and I had to get 2 kids to football camp to 8:30 at night. If somebody would have telemarketed me yesterday, listen, I don't have the time, okay? So that's a no. So you got to follow up, okay? So 8% of salespeople are left when the prospect is ready to say yes, and I'm going to tell you that comes down to maybe 2 salespeople, maybe. So if you want to know how to get more listings, you need to be there when the seller's ready to say yes, and you need to find a way to get in front of these guys. And we have classes on this. So here's just something I pulled off the internet. This is a little study on how we learn as people. I just thought this was interesting. So if you just listen to a lecture, you're going to retain usually about 5% of that. Maybe if you read something, you'll retain 10% of that. Today, maybe we had a little audio-visual presentation. Maybe some of you will remember 20% of what I said today. If I did it live, if you came to see me live and seen a live demonstration, 30%. If we did something interactive, we were part of like a mastermind group where we were doing coaching and discussing things, you would retain about 50%. But if you get out there and start doing what you're being told to do, you're going to retain and learn 75%. And there's only one thing better, okay? But for most of the people on this line as realtors, they're not teachers. We learn by doing. So please take this stuff, and I think that's why I put this slide in here, is to just encourage you to take what I've shown you today and just do it. Don't second guess it. Just do it. And I'm sure Scotty always sends the replay out. Please take it, listen to it again. But it's not going to do you any good just listening to it or showing it to a friend. Get out there and practice this stuff.
Right.
Here's a few bonus.
To your slide
Go ahead.
that you talked about, Robert, in the very beginning. How to, doing it over and over again. The pitching, the batting, that kind of stuff. It's role playing, actually. It's honing your craft, really.
Repetition is the mother of skill. If you want to be better at anything, it all comes down to reps. My son, he wants to be better at certain things, and so you just got to do it more than the other guy. You got to do it more. Every time you do it a little bit more, you train yourself a little bit more. So here's a few bonus slides. I was on a mastermind with some of the top agents, not just in the country, but in the world. And here were some things they were discussing. And I just thought these two slides were really interesting. So these are kind of like your bonus slides. We were talking, we got on the subject of CMA'S. And here's what I'm seeing. A lot of the top agents across the country, when they're going on that listing presentation, they're not bringing CMA'S. I found this really interesting. They're saying that's the way they differentiate themselves from the competition. And so when they walk into a home and the seller says, so what do you think my home is worth? Did you bring a CMA? They're saying, well, how could I have brought a CMA? I haven't even saw your house yet. I mean, look, you've upgraded this and you've done all this great work out back. You mean to tell me some of these agents brought CMAs without seeing your home? Wow, would you differentiate yourself from the competition? You actually, and this is another reason to get back in front of, well, what I'd like to do is now that I've seen your home, I'd love to run some numbers and maybe, come back and really sit down and discuss this with you further. Another agent said, well, if an agent has done a CMA without seeing your home or a CMA, really just shows what properties have sold for in the last 6 months or in the last year. To me, that's like looking in the rearview mirror. What we're trying to do is find the seller's bottom line, and a CMA can make a good appointment go bad quickly. I'll give you an example. I was on one that I really feel is going to sell at $450. They were for sale by owner for $520. Okay, the comps say $450. They're at $520.
Wow.
So we did not do comps. Or I did not do comps. My assistant showed up with comps. And she said, well, I'm going to show them the comps. I said, do not do that. And so when we got to the point of discussing what the house was worth, somehow and these people, they were an old Polish couple, and they were feeding us. They were feeding us. I haven't drank, they were drinking Rianiti. I haven't had Rianiti in a while. So, they're drinking wine, feeding us. This couldn't have been a better appointment as far as rapport-wise. They loved us. The seller was trying to hook up my assistant with his son, who's 31. He's like, so this was really a true love fest, rapport fest. But as soon as my assistant threw out what she felt the comps were, he hit his hand on the table and he said, no way, I would not do that. And I said, well, wait a second. The comps are like looking in a rearview mirror. That was the past. Why don't we do this? Why don't we start at $499 and we'll see how it goes? and they like that idea. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is we've all been there. We've been on a listing appointment. We've had great rapport. But as soon as we talk numbers, it's almost like they take offense to what a CMA tells them their house is worth. So I'm telling you, a CMA is going to kind of, I believe, it's going to, in a lot of ways, turn a good listing appointment very bad quickly. So, you know, you should have an idea what the house is worth, maybe do the CMA, but, you know, it's not something we necessarily have to bring out on a listing appointment. And this is what some of the top agents in the, not just in the country, but in the world are doing. This is one way they're separating themselves from the competition. No more CMAs. Here's a good one, commission. How do we get that 6 to 7% commission? Okay? So let's say I called you, Vicki, and you're a for sale by owner. What you're going to hear a lot, let's say you have a $100,000 rental property that, you know, you have tenants in, and I call you on it. And you say, you know, Robert, we're not going to list with an agent, but if you have a buyer, I'm willing to pay you 3%. That's very common, right? 3%. So here's where I'm going to take that. Because I want 6% at the least or 7%. You told me you're willing to pay 3%. So here's what I do. I say, okay, well, listen, Vicki, I appreciate that. So let me ask you, if I bring you an offer of, let's say, $90,000, would you still be willing to pay me that 3% commission? Well, you know, yeah, but not anything less than 90. It has to be. I'll tell you what, Robert, if you can get me 90, I'll still give you that 3%. But that's it. Not even 89. It's got to be 90. You know what I just did right there? I got the seller to knock 13% off the price, and the real buyer hasn't even shown up yet. So before you call these people, or when you are meeting them in person, and when you are discussing this commission in person, and they tell you, well, I told you on the phone I'm willing to pay you 3%, you should already know in your mind before you go in there what 90% is, and ask them, if I bring you an offer at such and such, would you consider it? And right then and there, they're going to bring the price down even more if they say yes to the $90,000 and the yes to the 3% commission. Like I've said on that third bullet point, they have already reduced their price 13%, and the real buyer hasn't shown up yet. Now when the real buyer does show up, and instead of 90, he's a cash buyer and he's there at 87 or 85,000 cash, they will knock off another 3 to 5% once the real buyer shows up. So how this works out is, and it doesn't happen all the time, but a lot of sellers, they will come off 16 to 18%. They won't act like this on the phone. They'll tell you on the phone, bring me a buyer and I'll pay you a commission. Now you have to throw the offer price out. Okay, well, an offer of this, that wouldn't be insulting, right? No, I'll still work with you here. They just reduced it more. Now, again, when the real buyer shows up, and that's in the ink, on the paper, and it's signed, they're going to come down even more. So you got 3 chances to get that seller down. One is, again, in the beginning, they're going to pay that 3%. Then you got to throw the offer out. If the offer is this, would you still consider it? And then, again, understand when the real buyer shows up, they're going to come down again. So if they will come 16 to 18% off their price, believe me, there's plenty of room for your 6 to 7% commission in there. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, yeah.
Okay, so we're getting down to the last few slides. So here's what I want to talk about. We have about 10 minutes left, and I want to talk about how to take your career to another level. If you haven't read this book, it's a great book. It's by a man by the name of Daniel Coyle, and it's called The Talent Code. And what Daniel Coyle did is he not just searched the country, but he searched the world for all the hotbeds of the greatest talent known to man. He went to a little Russian tennis camp in Siberia. He wanted to find out how this little small Russian tennis camp could produce more top 20 players than all of the whole United States combined. He went to a little music coach in Dallas, Texas, who produced like Britney Spears and Ashley Simpson, Jessica Simpson, Ryan Cabrera. He wanted to see what all these hotbeds, he called them hotbeds of talent. He went to these football camps where they produced some of the greatest football legends of all time. And here's what he calls his 3 secrets to greatness. You want to see what the 3 secrets to greatness are?
Yeah, I do.
Here's what he put in there. 3 key ingredients to greatness. Number 1 is motivation. There's no way I can help any of you get any better if you're not motivated. You have to want it, and you have to be motivated. So they realized that the people who were really succeeding to the highest levels were the most motivated. From there, the next thing they did was they sought out a great coach. And the coach made them practice. Even though they didn't want to, they were forced to practice. And it's a combination of motivation, coaching, and hard practice, which were the three key ingredients in this book, The Talent Code. And what I was just saying to you, repetition is the mother of skill. So I'm going to put my site up here. If any of you want to look up our real estate consulting and coaching business, it is therealestateacademy.com. And when you pull up the site, this is what it's going to look like. And do us a favor, like us on Facebook. We're at the Real Estate Academy on Facebook, and it ends in an I, A-C-A-D-E-M-I. Okay? So for all the people on the call today, I told Scott and Carl I was going to do this, and this is just for certain people. This is not for everybody. This is for people who want to take their career to the next level. Here's 3 things that we do, and I'm going to call them our 3 special offers. Okay? We offer 3 different coaching packages, so let me go through them. The first one is called our Bronze Package. And what we do is you work with me, not one of my coaches. I will coach you. We will do 2 30-minute calls just with you, not thousands of people like on the line today. 2 30-minute calls every single month. Normally we charge $400, but when we sign a 6-month commitment, we drop it down to $297. Here's what it adds up to, Vicki. 6 months at $297, this is what you pay over 6 months, $1,782. That's the equivalent of selling a $60,000 home to break even. So we work together twice a month on the phone, one-on-one. I'm hearing what your problems are, what your situation is. I'm offering suggestions. I'm showing you my strategies. And if I can help you sell one $60,000 home, just one, in 6 months, you break even. If I can help you sell a $200,000 home, you're going to make 6. The cost of the coaching is $1,782. Let's say I can help you sell 3 homes over a 6-month period, just 3, valued at $200,000 each. You would make $18,000 more than you would have made before. So that is our Bronze Package.
Well,
next is for the people who want. Go ahead.
I certainly wouldn't want to come up in competition against you on a listing presentation. That's for sure.
Well, I'm going to show you. I've got a guy that I'm coaching right now. He got 20 listing appointments in the last 2 weeks, and that's worth the $297. He's only at $297 a month. So think about that. In 6 months, he's going to pay me $1,782. He got 20 listing appointments in the last 2 weeks. He's going to pay for me within the first month and the last 5 months, and he can keep this knowledge for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
Here's our solar package. These are for people who want to talk every single week and be held accountable. We talk every single week or 4 times a month. We put you in on the calendar, and I'll talk to you. We do it 30 minutes. I call you every week, and I want to know what you're doing, and I'm keeping you on track. It's normally $800, but when we do 6 months, we knock the price down heavily. And again, we think about the cost. It's not expensive. It's all about an investment. 6 months. 6 months. And it's less than $3,000. So if I can help you, Vicki, if you and I work together every single week, just like we did now, one-on-one, just Robbie and Vicki, you'd have to sell $100,000 home to break even. That's it, just one. And if I can get you 10 listing appointments a week, like my buddy Chip's doing, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Okay, here's the breakdown. If you can sell 1, you break even. 2 at 200, this is what you make. And if I can help you sell 4, I mean, it's endless what you can make with this, and it's proven, and it's working. Okay, well, 1 more, and then I'm going to show you what investing did for me. We're down to maybe the last 4 or 5 slides, and I really appreciate everyone hanging in there. So we had the bronze and the silver. Now, if you have a team, let's say you're a broker and you're on this call, or if you're a team and you work with a team of 3 or a team of 5, we have our team package. Okay, we talk every week for an hour, and I want to talk to your team members. Normally $1,600, but with a 6-month commitment, you can divide this up by your team members. I mean, save the money, okay? And over 6 months, it's going to cost you $59.82. And like I said, split it with a team member. And it's if you have, let's say you have 3 team members, and we're all talking every single week. You don't have to sell one $200,000 home between your whole team. That's crazy. If your team, if everybody on your team sold one, you would be more than profitable. And if I could help you sell like 5, you would absolutely kill it. So I want to talk about this. Like I said, we got a few slides left. Now, somebody might be here on this webinar going, you know, I didn't come on this webinar to spend this kind of money. So I'm going to show you what investing has done for my life. This is an absolute fact. Years ago, we had the BP oil spill. The oil rig blew up in the Gulf of Mexico. And a buddy of mine, I was helping people do their claims for free. And a buddy of mine said to me, why don't we start a company? Now, here I've got the successful real estate and coaching business. And my buddy said, let's go start a company and help people with their claims. I need $20,000. So think about this. What if I said to you, Vicki, you want to do some oil spill claims for me today? You might say, I don't know. I need to know more about it. Hey, give me 20 grand. This conversation ends right now. I don't know. This is not what I do. This is part of the reason Business Leader Magazine voted me one of their top 50 entrepreneurs, because it's not about what you invest, it's about what the return is. Here's what we did. We went around and took this 20 grand and started doing seminars all across the Gulf region. Here's what we made in 1 year, $680,000 from 20. Then we still have 142 claims in that are being processed, and if I get paid on half of those, it's another $781,000. So this is not a joke, Vicki. Something I invested $20,000 in, I'm going to make over $1 million. And you can look it up. It's flbpclaims.com. So here's what I did. When I took that money, okay, so I made this nice chunk of money from the BP company. Here's what I did. I invested in an insurance company because I'm all about investing. And there's people on this call, and that might be what is stopping you. You're not investing in yourself or anything. I invested in a privately held insurance company. I told my whole family about it. Some of my family invested. Some of them thought I had lost my mind. But I will invest. I invested $112,500 2 years ago. It went public on May 23rd. I'm going to show you when my buddy rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Here's what it turned into the day it went public. And as of yesterday, 6/9, I looked at my stock, $439,000 yesterday. But if I'd ask anybody on this call, hey, do you have $112,000? You would think I had lost my mind. But I'm going to show you how and what my method is and what my thinking is. And when it reaches $16 a share, I'm going to break $500,000. So next year in my investments, this isn't selling a house. This is no coaching. Next year, I will break over 7 figures without even selling a house or not even coaching one student. I'll break over 7 figures next year. Just investments. Okay? So here it is. This is the company that I was telling you about on Friday, May 23rd. They went and rang the bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Again, investing. Last slide, and then we'll take any questions. Now, you've seen some business investments I did, and I'm not trying to impress anybody on this call. I'm trying to impress upon you. Again, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to impress upon you. This is what I did with my business. Let me tell you what I did with my own personal health. Here was me, Vicki, on the beach, 43 years old. My wife showed me this picture. I was on a cruise. She's like, really? So here's how I do all my investments. I'm going to give you the key to it. So I went and I said, you know, it's time for me to hire a trainer, just like it was time for me to invest in BP. Okay, so I went and hired a trainer. So here's how it works. If you don't believe what I'm telling you on the phone, please don't call me or email. It's not going to work. But the first thing is you have to believe you want better. So if you believe you could do better or want better or have better, it starts with belief. So I'm just looking at my physical appearance there. The first thing I believed at age 43 is I wanted to look better. I believed I could look better. The next thing I did is I went and invested. I hired a coach. I invested over $500 a month to get into better shape. And then I worked at it. And you know what? When you work at it, guess what? You struggle. And there were days I didn't feel like going to the gym, and there were days my trainer picked me up, and there were days he held me accountable, and my trainer, he was there, and he would not give up on me. And here's the result. You ready for the result?
Ta-da-da.
Did I lose you?
Drum roll, please.
There's the result.
Hey.
In 16 months.
Wow.
So the point is, again, I'm not trying to impress anyone, but here's what I've done, whether it's been with my personal real estate coaching, with my BP business, with my insurance business, real estate, whatever. It starts with belief, guys. if you believe in yourself, in your career, the next step is after belief, it's time to invest. I didn't want to pay a trainer $500 because you know what? I know how to work out. Just like some of you are like, I know how to sell real estate. But the question is, even though I knew how to work out, was I doing it and wasn't I pushing myself? And when I hired a trainer, he pushed me places I didn't want to go, but I went there. And if you're willing to push yourself, look at what the result can be. I'm 46 years old. I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been in my entire life. And again, I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm just telling you guys, this is really working for me, and that's why I came on the call. Here's a testimonial I just received on 6/8. A guy by the name of Chip Deacon with Keller Williams. This is an email. He said, Robert, he's doing the $297 package. He said, I just want to thank you for the awesome coaching. Using your techniques, motivation, and confidence, we've been calling FSBOs for the past 2 weeks. I've scheduled over 10 appointments each week, so 20 appointments. They're now in my follow-up program, and I have a few listings waiting to happen. In fact, one listing scheduled for this week. So right then and there, in just 2 weeks, it's about the investment's going to pay for itself in 2 weeks. So I guess how I'm going to close this out is I don't want you to think about the investment. Think about the return. It's all about, I put $20,000 into a BP company, it's going to turn into $1 million. I put another 112 into another company, that's going to be a half. So what are you willing to, do you believe, and are you willing to invest? With that said, I have a 1-800 number. If any of you like to call, leave a message in our general mailbox. I'm giving my own private, this is my own private email. Please, if you're interested in coaching, just say, hey, I'm interested in what you talked about. I'm willing to give a free 30-minute consultation, free 30-minute consultation. It's not for everyone. And with that said, Vicki, I'll turn it over to you if anyone has any questions.
Well, good. Yeah, thank you so much. I learned quite a bit, even though that was not part of what I did back when I was in real estate. But I learned. So thank you for the class today. That was awesome.
Absolutely. Now, are there any questions? I know we went maybe 3 minutes over time. I apologize, but I wanted to make sure that we got everything in. And like I said, I'll field any questions that we have.
Well, let's go ahead and start at the very beginning here. I thought that Karen was answering the questions already, but let me just double check here.
Okay.
Can you confirm your, how about your YouTube channel, Robert, that they can follow some of your videos? Do they just look for you on YouTube?
I switched to Vimeo. There's a few songs and a few little splices I like to put in, and YouTube started stopping them. So what I did is I went to private hosting on Vimeo, V-I-M-E-O, and they can follow my blog at AlexaRealty411.com. Alexa Realty, A-L-E-X-A, Realty411.com.
Okay, great. How many agents do we have on today's call? I think we had close to 800 after maybe a little bit more. Just wanted to, Kenny had asked that question. And let's see if there's anything else in here. Yes, you do get with your loan officer. They will provide you the link so that you can view the recording in the replay section of Agent Mastermind or agentmastermind.com/replay. And then you'll get your password so you can watch this. Normally it takes about 24 hours to upload the class to our server, so I just want to let you know about that. I'm sorry if you guys could not hear me too well. My mic was not working, so I was on a headset. So I apologize on one of the comments that they said there. And okay, I think we're all set here. I think we've answered all the questions. Karen was busy taking care of all of them. If there's not, shoot Robert an email. Obviously, I'm available on Facebook too as well, or VickiRice3@gmail. I'm Scott's partner. I don't know if I introduced myself in the very beginning. But I'm the one that kind of also comments on Agent Mastermind and gives some help and some direction. If I think that I can offer some service, you'll see my comments there. So I think we're good to go. Thank you so much, Robert. And
thank you, Vicki. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, I'm so proud to have you on here, so that's awesome. Okay, have a great day, and we will see you next week at the same time, same place. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.